Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Item 54.
Item 54 is a first reading, set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, September 13th, 2016 at 7 p.m. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, calling a special election on the issue of whether the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota should build an administrative office building and associated site improvements.
Jim, are you doing this one? Councilor Staley? Councilor
I
Staley?
think I'm doing this one.
Councilor Staley?
Yes.
You
Okay.
bet.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to all of you who have stayed throughout this entire meeting. And I wanted to say that this ordinance is really a triangular relationship ordinance. It has three parts to it. It has the mayor, it has the city council, and it has the citizens. The administration building has had a colorful history, as many of you know. It had 2 tie votes before we were elected that were broken by the mayor. It had a repeal that happened within this newly elected council, a 5-3 vote. It had a veto that the mayor did a month or so ago. Then it had a petition drive, and a very impressive petition drive, if I may add, of about 6,400 signatures in 3 weeks. And then, of course, the snafu happened. There was an oversight, a mistake, and a resulted shutdown. Now, I believe that the community expects leadership from this council and from the mayor to show that we respect the effort and the integrity of those citizens who signed the petition and who held the petitions. Tonight, we have an opportunity to move ahead on an advisory election on June 8th with the school board. This is the same type of advisory election that we used for the event center. If we can support this action tonight and do our part, then we are going to look to you, Mr. Mayor, to do your part. I greatly admired and appreciated your willingness to let the event center building go to a public vote, an advisory vote. And I know that you wanted that building. I know you feel very strongly about this building. I get that. But I think that a vote would be very appropriate. The public is looking to you, Mr. Mayor, to do your part, and to the council to do our part to help this effort. Working together, we can take an action of respect, leadership, and compromise to show the taxpayers of this city that we care. I am proud to be supporting this ordinance tonight. And I'm proud, and I'm hoping that we're going to be able to move forward and put this to a public vote on June 8th, 2017. This is the first reading. If we can pass this through tonight, we have a second reading next week, and then of course, the mayor would have to defer the bonds. But this all works together, and it all could work together. So that's why I'm bringing this forth now. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilor Starr.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agreed to co-sponsor this ordinance tonight for a couple of reasons, but the main one being the 6,500 people who took their time to come and sign this petition. It's no fault of theirs that the wrong form was used. However that legal technicality happened, it's caused a lot of disappointment for a lot of people. But my job as a city councilor is to represent the people of Sioux Falls. There are 6,500 people. That's over half of the people who voted in the April election. Their voice needs to be heard. A couple of the questions that I got as part of this when I agreed to sponsor it, one included, why wait 9 months to have an election? I'm willing at the second reading to look at possibly amending that date to December, if that helps, that makes it more accommodating. I think those are discussions that we can have when we debate the issue. The other is, the only way for this Stop the Funding group to succeed at this point is to sue. And it's not my responsibility as a city councilor to agree or not agree. What I can do is I can sponsor this ordinance and bring this forward without it having to become a court case. Again, it's not my responsibility to move forward. And if there is a legal challenge, I understand that as well, and we can address that in the second reading, or we can withdraw an election if they choose to sue. So again, for the people who signed this petition, for the people who spent hours in the sun, the amount of time that in the wind and the conditions of South Dakota to collect 6,500 signatures in less than 3 weeks, which has to be some kind of local record at least, for the amount of time for you, I've agreed to co-sponsor this, and hopefully we move forward to a second reading next week.
Councilor, thank you. Councilor Selberg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, it feels like we've been here before, a little bit like the movie Groundhog Day. I mean, we've been down this road a couple times this year already, and while a number of us, me included, didn't necessarily like the result, the fact is we went through the democratic process provided to us, and here we are. It's being brought forward today, again, as Councilor Staley and Starr have said, is more of a vote to say that 6,000 or so signatures shouldn't be discounted over a technicality, and the people need to be heard. Now, of course, it's hard to argue those points. Of course, they need to be heard, and it's hard to vote against that sentiment. On the other hand, I'm not sure I see this playing out any differently than what we've seen the last 2 times we've gone down this road. So I guess where I'm at with it, I'm a little bit torn with it. I would say a yes vote tonight would be out of the respect for those that did work hard to get those signatures, that made the effort, those who are out there getting the petitions. So a yes vote would be out of respect for that, but I still have some reservations as far as if we go forward. We have led on this, we've talked it out, we've worked on this for months, it's gone through things for most of the year. So anyway, I guess what I'm saying is out of respect for those that have worked hard on it, that's why I'm listening to a possible yes vote. Thanks.
Councilor Selberg, thank you. Yes, Councilor Neisert.
I largely echo what Councilor Selberg has stated. Those who circulated the petition worked very hard. I want to say that loud and clear. Over 6,000 citizens signed the petition in 3 weeks. That's pretty incredible. There's clearly a hunger to vote on this issue, but I've struggled with this vote for a number of reasons, and I have a lot of mixed feelings. I'm concerned that this could do more harm than good for our city, mainly because I think it's going to create a false hope. I have a lot of hesitation and trepidation, but I'll vote to send this to a second reading. I'm not sure what I'm going to do next week. But we all need to be very realistic about where we're at. The mayor can legally bond on or after October 1st. This would not change that fact. He doesn't have to, of course, but he has been very clear and consistent that he plans to move forward. We need to be very honest about what this would do, and more importantly, what it does not do. If this were to pass, it would not be effective until after October 1st. The election would occur months after the mayor could legally bond, and if he did it, it would render the election moot, and this is advisory only, and it is not binding. I'm concerned that this could create a false impression that the citizens will get to vote on this building. If they don't, it's going to create more division, more bitterness, and split our city gratuitously. I'd like to see an election one way or another that we would honor regardless of the outcome, but that's something that's out of my control and the council's control. This is in the mayor's hands, and I respect that. What is in our control, both individual councilors and citizens, is how we conduct ourselves and what we say. I and other councilors have tried very hard to keep this debate focused on policy, respectful, and not to make it personal. But I've been very troubled by the rhetoric in the last few weeks. There have been allegations that the process was circumvented in some way by the mayor. Let's be clear, the mayor is a voting member of the council in the event of a tie. Per the charter, he gets to break ties. I may disagree with his vote, but he does get to vote in the event of a tie. That's the process. The mayor has the power to veto. I may disagree with his veto, but he has that power. That's the process. We tried to override it. We were unable to. Therefore, the repeal ordinance was not adopted. I may not like that, but that's the process. We lost, fair and square. When I've spoken about the tie-breaking votes and the veto, my point is not to imply that the process was violated, which it certainly was not, but simply to point out that this proposal has been contentious from the beginning, and it continues to be. My thought has been with the proposal to bond millions of dollars where the executive and legislative branches are divided, it seems appropriate to let the citizens have the final say. The way to do that is an election. That's my position, but I may or may not win that. And if I don't win it, it's not because the process was circumvented, it's just simply because we lost. plain and simple. In terms of the initiative, I made no secret of my support for it. Valid signatures or not, it was going to and require additional action, whether it be a legal action or a change of heart on the mayor's part to make that election actually matter, simply based on timing. I want the citizens to know that the city clerk had no choice but to rule the petitions invalid. They were on the wrong form, period, and state law and administrative rules are clear they must be on the proper form. I called the Secretary of State's office myself and confirmed that. He has no discretion in this matter. There is no good enough provision. The attacks on the city clerk are uncalled for and totally unfair. He does not have discretion here, and he's following the process and the letter of the law. And that's coming from someone who led the repeal effort and wants the people to vote. But I have to be honest first. I don't get to make up my own facts, nor would I want to as a matter of integrity. Simply an unfortunate mistake made in the haste of the moment by the individual who led the effort to bring this to a vote, period, end of issue. Further, there is no evidence whatsoever nor reason to believe the mayor had anything to do with these petitions being thrown out. I do not believe the mayor had any influence on the city clerk one way or another. And let me make something clear. The city clerk works for us. The mayor has no power over the city clerk. None. Again, the petitions were on the wrong form. It was a mistake. It's not any more complicated than that. The mayor had nothing to do with what form was used. As a vocal opponent of this building, I want to say loud and clear, the attacks on the city clerk, the mayor, and the city attorney are unfair and not helpful to our side. We should be arguing that the mayor should allow a vote on this proposal because the citizens have demonstrated that they want a voice, and that's the right thing to do. That's an honorable and fair argument. In this case, in all fairness, the mayor, city clerk, and city attorney do not deserve the abuse and blame they have been given. Perhaps the courts will step in and address this issue with the petitions and rule them substantially compliant. I have no idea, given the oath is almost exactly the same. I hope the people do get to vote on this, and I hope we might go in another direction. That may or may not happen, and it remains to be seen. Either way, I will be moving on to the next challenge and not looking back. I would ask everyone who wants to vote on this that you urge the mayor respectfully to reconsider because it's the right thing to do. It's clearly what the voters want, and the petitions were invalidated because of a mistake out of the control of the voters, not because of any malfeasance. And no matter what happens, we're going to move on to the next challenge. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Appreciate that. Councilor Mbach.
You know, Mr. Mayor, I've been involved as Sioux Falls City Government in a variety of roles over the last 16 years. And over these years of service, I have been involved in a variety of conversations about city office space, including Mayor Munson's consideration of purchasing the former Midland National Life building almost 10 years ago. This wasn't some dream of Mike Huether's. I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, this wasn't your thing. It's time now, though, for this council to come together over this issue. I don't understand why the citizen petition drive waited until the last minute to rush this issue to a public vote. They had 5 months after the original April vote of this council. But that rush attempt failed. So let's move forward together as a community and get this important building project started. Why on earth would we vote as a community on something that will be partially built by the time of the June election? Let's move forward to, as Councilor Neitzer said, let's move forward to the next challenge that's far more important than this.
Councilor Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question for the city attorney, if I can, please.
Yep, Councilor.
My question, hypothetically speaking, say passes first, second reading, and at that time the administration does bond on, say, October 15th. We'll just throw a date out there. What happens with that advisory vote at that time, if it is, in fact, scheduled for December or June?
It would only be an advisory vote, Councilor Erickson. The bond purchasers would have what the law would call vested rights at that point. You couldn't undo any bond sales. So does that answer your question?
So would the election still occur, is my question? Or would it be up to this council to come in and say, nope, not today. We're not going to do it.
You're essentially doing a survey only. It wouldn't have any legal meaning whatsoever because the bond sale would have already occurred. There's vested rights in the bondholders. The proceeds of the bonds will be used to build this new city administration building. You are doing a survey only from a legal standpoint by doing this as an advisory election only.
Thank you. And if I can make a brief statement, Mr. Mayor,
Here, Councilor.
I have also been a strong critic of this and walked a little bit longer with the new council coming on board. I've walked through this for the last year plus. It is unfortunate that the wrong form was used, and that's what happened. It still was an uphill challenge. We still don't know if those signatures were validated, if the election was actually going to take place without the pause from the administration. At that time, and only at that time, would the election take place if the bonds paused. I'm not interested in spending thousands of dollars for an advisory election that does nothing. I understand it does give the people the voice, but if it's not going to direct us, if it's not going to accomplish anything other than saying, I win, you lose, you win, I lose, that's really all it's doing, and it's unfortunate. I am a huge advocate of having the people speak, of the democratic process, of working through that. I've been through it before. It works. Sometimes it doesn't work. But I'm not interested in just throwing away those dollars as well. I am concerned over the decisiveness, the division within the council as well as the city and the message it sends. It's unfortunate, but I've been on the opposite side, and I've been there. Whatever happens over the next 2 weeks, I hope that we can move forward in a respectful manner and tackle the next challenges that our community faces, because we do have a lot of important issues in this community other than one building. Thank you.
Councilor, thank you. Appreciate that. Councilor Kiley.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilor, and thank you, Councilor Selberg and Neitzer and Erickson, because you really echo my sentiment here. I mean, it is unfortunate that the process to initiate wasn't begun sooner, or actually referred after the April vote. It did not, however. All of us on the council have followed the process, and it has been a democratic process every step of the way, as Councilor Neitzer had pointed out. So we are here today. It is, I guess, as they say, what it is. And it has been unfortunately, it has been such a divisive issue. And I greatly respect my fellow councilors, and I've stated that before publicly, and I've also stated to other councilors on the other side of this issue than what I am on, that I respected the initiative as well, too. It is unfortunate that the error occurred. It was also unfortunate that the blame was laid where it should not have been laid. That's all water under the bridge at this point, but I really do believe that it does give false hope if we move forward. And normally I'm all for moving things to a second reading, but in this situation, because of that, I will vote no this evening, and if necessary, again next week.
Councilor Kiley, thank you. Councilor Staley.
Well, first of all, let me say that we are doing, first of all, this calling for an advisory vote. I am not trying to trash the mayor, nor am I trying to trash the city clerk or anything. We have a right to do this. We're not doing anything illegal. This is well within our responsibility and our authority on the council to bring forth an advisory vote. If we had the vote, if we voted to pass it through today, we have the second reading next week. And then if the mayor does go ahead and bond it on October 1st, then it's nil. I get that. I'm not saying we're going to spend any money on this. I don't know that we were going to go ahead and start and have a vote after he'd already started on the building. This is all, like I said, it's a triangular situation. We say this, we respect what the citizens did. We put this gesture forward, and then the mayor gets to choose what he's going to do. And we're all assuming the mayor will never change his mind. And we're human. We are not mind readers here. So as I've said before, it's more important that we go forward and take this next step. It's one last thing that we can do. I feel very good about putting this forward. And of course, we all have our own decisions to make here. But we got the citizens' tax money here. We got the citizens' effort here to show respect for what they've done.
Councilor Staley, did you want to make a motion?
I do, thank you. I would like to move that we have a second reading on this next week.
Councilor Staley is making a motion to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, September 13th for this item. Is there a second?
Second, Starr.
Second by Councilor Starr. Is there any other discussion? A yes vote would move this to would be wanting to move this to a second reading next week. A no vote would not want that to occur. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Kylie,
No.
Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Erpenbach.
No.
That has passed 5-2.